the first video, we talk about one of the most utilitarian resources. Nowadays, you did see that large nowadays, didn't you? The reason we had to emphasize on nowadays was because, unlike food and water, the resource which we are talking about would have been seen as a fairy tale or would have been considered magic just a few centuries ago. For those of you who weren't able to guess it, the resource we are talking about is electricity. In this video, we'll talk about the history of electricity. This might shock a lot of you, but the first evidence of electricity was not the rubbing of amber to produce static electricity and attract light objects like the feather. It was something much simpler. In the ancient Egyptian civilization, people noticed that touching certain fishes would give them a shock. This was the first evidence of electricity in history, and it was over 4,500 years ago. The next observation is of static electricity, in which people rubbed certain materials such as amber with fur to charge the amber by friction, which made it attract some lighter objects. After which, thales of Miletus made a series of observations on this in 600 BC. After this, the next observation and discoveries came in the 16th century. William Gilbert, who was an English scientist, did a careful study on electricity and magnetism. Further work was conducted in the 17th and early 18th centuries by Otto van Guericke, Robert Boyle, Stephen Gray. Now we come to what is probably the most famous experiment in electric history. The one was done by the famous scientist William Franklin. The apparent apparatus he had was just a kite and a key. In June 1759, he is reputed to have attached kite string and flew the kite in a storm threatened sky. A succession of sparks coming from the back of his hand showed that lightning was immediate. Once the lightning touched his hand, he experienced a huge shock. It was a miracle that he wasn't killed. This is the gist of how electricity came to be. After this, there is a long line of scientists who made large discoveries for electricity to be what it is today. We will only talk about one more instance, which was the fight between Thomas Alva Edison and Nikola Tesla. As we all know that it was Thomas Alva Edison who created the light bulb. However, he needed a method to power the bulb, a way to transfer the electricity, as one can say. For this, he created a current called direct current or DC. This worked but had its disadvantages. Nikola Tesla was an employee at Thomas Alva Edison's factory, and he invented another form of current called alternating current or AC. This was a much better way of powering the light bulb. The entire war between Thomas Alva Edison and Nikola Tesla was Edison trying to stop AC from being used rather than